Yeah, that was... Everybody come on in and get settled in. Please make sure you have your drinks, your snacks, and your volume all the way up because this is gonna be fun. I am your host, Julie DeFisher, author of Destined for More and the Four Queens for Four Kings series, along with the Dustin Chronicles, among others. My lovely co-host, Miss Izzy Krause, our extreme reader tracker, all around baddie. Woo!
Yes, reader, designated reader, budding author, resident financial chaos coordinator, just a few of my
general support fan. She is definitely that.
I am that. I am that. I just generated another piece of dialogue.
So.
Sorry, I'm generating a bunch more dialogue.
Okay.
I'm reading
it's
them.
The face for me. I'm something like, are you okay?
I'm reading them and going, oh, I wonder what Dahlia is going to do with that one. Like literally nonstop, every single one. I'm like, oh God, what would Dahlia do with that one?
Hey, the dialogue really seems to be working for us. I mean, like, we're still going to roll for it, but it's...
Oh, absolutely. And I do like the fact that we're doing, like, the regular prompt plus, start it with this line or use this piece of dialogue. And it gives that various... Because on top of that, if you think about it, on the off chance that the three of them go together...
That is one mega prompt.
Somebody is going to go... I can put this and this and this together, and oh my God, like it's going to spark something for somebody.
Right. And I mean, that's what we're all about.
Mm-hmm.
We are all about getting people to start writing or at least just come by on Saturday nights and hang out and listen to what crazy stuff we all come up with. Also, if you wouldn't mind, and you like to get the prompt emailed to you so you don't forget it, or in case I happen to be late getting out a video, you can also go through and get it emailed to you. All you gotta do is sign up for the little subscription. No, we will not subscription bomb you.
No, literally, it is just the introduction. Thank you. And about 6 hours later, you get like a general idea with the rules of how it works. And then every Sunday, you get it emailed to you at 5 p.m. Central Time, I think. Maybe 5 p.m. Eastern. It's 5 p.m. somewhere.
5 o'clock somewhere.
5 o'clock somewhere. And then on top of that, what it also allows you to do is reply to that email with your submission. Okay? So that's, yep, exactly. Find the email and then just reply to it. Right?
Right. And some people find it a lot easier because for whatever reason, people are having trouble emailing us. And this just makes it easier on everybody. So if you just want to go to the link in the bio, everything is there when it comes to the Hold My Pen Promptcast.
Hey, Bridget. Yeah, and that's the important key point is that, like, after we close out tonight, I'm going to set it up. It'll be on a timer. And that's it. We're said to done.
Yep.
So it just makes it easier. You guys have it in your email. You can review it, right, at any point during the week, and then reply to it when you're ready with your submission. Good to go. Peachy keen. And it is a Gmail address. So that means that it doesn't get blocked or dumped other places usually. So fun.
Also, if you happen to stay to the end of the show, as anybody knows that's been here for a minute, you do get the prompt for next week tonight.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a whole thing tonight, and it's going to be also after our submissions. I do have a very big announcement that I hinted about on Wednesday.
We've got lots of things going on. And of course, at the end of everybody's submissions, Julie or myself, Julie found her dice, so she's been enjoying rolling, right? She's going to roll from each of our 3 categories and get you, the audience, to participate in voting for 1, 2, or 3, which prompt you want for the next week. And before we do that, though,
we do have a
is going to make her announcement because it will affect the prompts going forward for the rest of the month. So,
right.
All right, without further ado, let me go to the Hold My Pen Promptcast.
Oh yeah. Oh, and right before you start that, please, everybody, be following me, Izzy, everybody in the bottom. You never know when you need a book contact of some sort. So please do all the things for us. We love you.
Okay, and as we remember, last week we announced due tonight, November 2nd, 2024, was to use this dialogue, or some semblance thereof. Am I supposed to be scared now? So we have first up, and again, and this is a very good point. First up is Dahlia, our lovely resident horror writer who scares the pants off of me almost every single week. But in the top of the email, when you send it through, make sure that you're letting us know, number 1, if you would like to be anonymous, number 2, if you want to be up in the box reading it yourself, or if you would rather me read it, and also, should I be on the lookout for choice words that the good old clock don't like? My eyes usually read about 2 to 3 words ahead before they come out my mouth, so letting me know ahead of time that I should be aware of some of those words help all of us stay on the right side of the banana. Okay. So, here we are. Tonight's submission from Dahlia. Maybe once in my life, you could step all over me. Make me feel like I am nothing more than a waste of space. Make me feel like I should move out of the way for you. But that time has come and gone. I am not a young kid you can push around, the naive child that knows no better and will believe the words that come from your mouth. I will never let the likes of you come into my space and cause chaos to my peace. Your words sliced deep once. Your actions caused feelings I wish I never felt. But what is done is done. The damage has happened, and there's nothing I can do about that. I wish I could go back to living in my bubble of naivete, to live as a child should, never having a care in the world for what the worst this world has to offer. You should be ashamed of yourself. You took my childhood away from me. I became a shell of who I could have been as a kid. Quiet, so I would not disappoint anyone. Now as an adult, the likes of you come and go. Some say I am harsh and need to give them grace. I laugh at that. There is no way I will let anyone make me feel the way you did. I stand my ground when it comes to my own life. I choose who stays and goes. That pisses a lot of people off. But I don't care. Life is harsh, and some will do anything to cause me chaos. This world is filled with bastards. doing and saying anything to make me kneel at their feet and beg for their mercy and approval. I will never go that low for the bastards of this world. People like to remind me that the bastards of this world are scary. They could unalive me. They could brutally destroy me in unimaginable ways. Am I supposed to be scared? You taught me this world is harsh. You taught me things I wish I didn't have to learn. And for those creatures that bring out the worst this world has to offer, fuck off, you vulgar scum. And for those that say I shouldn't say such things, you could cause their temper to flare. Wake the fuck up. They will continue doing as they please, even if I do or don't say anything. If you are the nicest person in the world, they will still destroy everything you care about, even unalive you if they feel like it. They are the monsters of this world. These creatures exist and will continue to exist. The scum of this world make the supernatural monsters look like angels in comparison. It's a harsh world we live in, and I will say what I say. For no matter what I do, they will do as they please. You, who I should have looked up to and enjoyed being around, you caused this, and you are the reason I am the way I am. It's your fault for waking me up. If it wasn't for you, I might have lived my life in a state of naivete, never seeing the likes of you coming from a mile away. You're probably patting yourself on the back, thinking there should be a thanks for all you have done, but that will never come. You just made your life as well as like-minded individual lives harder. Those like me have also woken up, and we will spread around the world until we are all awake, spreading awareness of the destruction scum like you cause to our societies. Damn!
Absolutely. Yeah, that was hard. But that was deep.
That was deep and felt like it was ripped from my soul.
Right?
Like,
okay, snaps.
You know what I liked about this, Dahlia? Is it came from here, right? And I have a coworker who has this album. He's a coworker in the financial world, but he also has put out a couple of albums. And every time I tell him that I absolutely enjoy the album, he's like, oh, it's sad, it's depressing, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, it's validating.
It's real.
It's real. It's validating. Because when we get in situations like this, or, you know, depressed, or our mental health is suffering, one of the things that our brain lies to us about is the fact that we're the only one who ever feels this way. What is wrong with us that, you know, we feel this way and nobody else does? You know, the perfectness that is social media, right? And hearing that somebody else feels that way, hearing that somebody else is going through it, makes us feel like we're a little bit more normal. That it's not abnormal to feel this way, and that at the end of the day, we are not alone. Right. So that, I don't know where you're going with that, or if that's what it is, but that's powerful shit.
Very much so.
All right, and the next one is our lovely. That's
going to be hard to follow up with.
That really is. And of course, next up is our lovely host, Julie DeFisher, following that.
Go, Julie! Woohoo! Go, Julie!
Okay, remember, you're reading from the blue down.
Right. And so since last week's dialogue tag and this week's dialogue tag just kind of flowed together, for those that were present last week, you heard last week's prompt, and Julie went back and continued with it using this week's prompt. My whole main work in progress is mostly from prompts. So that's, there's ways that these prompts can fit and quilt together. So, all right, so we're backtracking just a little bit, right? If I remember you telling me that.
Well, where it was hurried last week,
right.
Flushed it out, and then we're going down from there.
As she was halfway through her volcanic waterfall, she had heard a commotion from the other room. While she tried to tune out what would undoubtedly be the two arguing over the remote for the TV, their ever-rising tone became too much for her to ignore. Climbing out of the shower and wrapping a towel around herself, Kay emerged into the room ready to take off their heads. All she wanted was a few minutes of peace, denied to her by the situation that she had currently found herself. As the argument grew to an alarming level, called a front desk kind of level, Kay pulled the door to the bathroom open with such force it rattled the hinges. Stomping into the room, she had seen the two on their phones screaming at whoever was on the other end. Kay stopped short when she saw both Chris and Mark checking their weapons, readying themselves for a fight. "What do you mean he escaped the compound?" Mark hissed to the man on the other end of the line. "No, he doesn't know what is going on. He was never supposed to," Chris screamed. "You better find him before he ruins everything." Mark slammed his phone down on the table, letting out a frustrating growl. Chris quickly followed suit. She had never witnessed these two react in this manner before today, as it wouldn't be wise for the bodyguards to be freaking out like hysterical newbies. If it had been any of the others, Kay would have been on edge. She knew she had to keep her head regardless of what the situation was. Nothing could be left to chance if the Valance family was to get this contract handled correctly. Hence the reason these two had been her escort instead of Nikki. As her anger grew, she realized the men had not taken notice that she was standing there fuming. Slamming one of the Mr. and Mrs. statues on the table, the two went dead silent and simultaneously turned to look at the drenched, raven-haired woman. The color drained from their faces at the prospect of her knowing exactly what was really going on. They had been sworn to secrecy before leaving the old man's office, and unfortunately, the anonymity looked to be running out by the second. "Do I want to know what the hell is going on?" Kay said, standing in a large puddle of water that seemed to be creeping across the carpet. The two remained quiet for a while, contemplating what to say next. They couldn't tell her under any circumstance. It was bad enough that this was all done behind Nikki's back, but for Kay to know, it would cause an explosion no one was ready to see. Trying to think on their feet, Chris and Mark mentally knew only one of them could speak. Only then they would know which way to spin the reversion of events to Kay. "We don't have all night." Kay's rage began to smolder as the anticipation grew heavy in the room. "Nikki has left the compound," Chris finally said, letting out just enough truth that it should be a little bit believable. "And?" Kay pressed firmly for more information. "He's headed this way." Mark looked terrified, but followed suit with the breadcrumbs of information. "Is that supposed to scare me?" Kay stood there confused as to why these men looked like they had seen the Grim Reaper instead of getting the news that their boss, who was late to the party, was finally on his way. "It's truly nothing for you to worry about." Chris shot a look over to Mark for backup. "Nikki was supposed to be out of town for the next month. Hence the reason he isn't here. When he got back yesterday evening, he inquired about the whereabouts of the three of us. He isn't too happy that we left without him." Mark hoped he sounded believable, as Kay could pick up on any loose string in the hem of a story. "You know what? We don't have time for this. He's late, and that's not our problem. The show must go on, or Valance Sr. is going to have a coronary." Kay's eyes narrowed at the two men in front of her. "Now you two have a job to do. Make sure this room is properly ready, or so help me God, I will show you what the other end of your manhood looks like." Kay turned on her heels, retreating back into the bathroom, slamming the door. Once the music started blaring out of the bathroom, the two men sighed in relief. Neither would dare to set her off in the danger. She would make good on her threat. They had personally seen what she had been capable of doing if the mood had fancied her, and the last thing they needed was their blood all over the decor. Chris could tell Kay wasn't herself. She would have jumped at the chance to torture information out of someone. But she had taken their explanation with no questions asked. She had even drawn her own conclusion without so much as a second thought. Maybe this would work out in everyone's favor, and just maybe Nicky would finally move on with his life.
Ba, ba, ba.
And I'm pleased to announce on her behalf, this is now a work in progress with an actual book cover and title. So be on the lookout for Crossroads by Julie DeFisher in the near future. Just saying. I got questions.
Save them for after the show.
Yeah, I have questions.
What happened in the future? Oh, Mary's here.
Mary! What's happening in the future is the prompt that I just read out for you know who is now going to be the start of a new journey at this current time. It's a standalone book, cover, title, Crossroads, and we'll see where that goes. But if I know Julie, this is going to turn into a whole crazy world that I'm going to have to get another notebook with more tabs so that I can keep it straight.
You might want to just upgrade me to the big 3-inch 3-ring binder.
I don't have enough bookshelf space. that was. I'm looking forward to see where that whole world goes and whatnot.
Well, so far it's sitting at 3410 in the word count. So it's definitely took some turns and into chapter 2.
In their Hold My Pen Promptcast debut,
The Shrieking Will.
Now, I know kind of the background of this story, but I have not read this. Like, if y'all saw my video earlier this week, I literally went to a different room so he could work on this with a friend and me not hear any of it. So, yes, The Shrieking Will. This is my middle spawn. And decided, this week's prompt just suddenly fired off something in the brain.
All the things. Yeah.
All the things. Yes. So this is essentially chapter 2 in his work in progress. So if I say some of the names wrong, please bear with me.
You've been explained the names so far, and the only new character is a common person name.
Good.
So,
All right, so here we go. I swam around the corner, following the sounds of the tapping. Peeking my head around the corner of my cave, I saw my brood sister on my bed, with the pale merman from earlier standing over her. She was nervously clicking her fingertips against the wood box I kept by my bed for accessories. He opened his mouth, and I heard his gravelly voice for the first time. Stay. Do not move, or you'll regret it. Am I supposed to be scared now? Iki asked, arching her brow. Yes, you are. You're failing at your goal in a most astounding manner.
He looked away from Iki, and I held my breath tightly. Her rhythmic tapping still lingered in my ears, and I realized why she was tapping. 4 short bursts, a pause, another short, and a pause, a short, 1 long, and 2 short again, 1 short, 2 long, and finally another short tap, over and over. Realizing, I shook my head, feeling as though I might cry. Help. My sister was asking for help. Pulling myself back around the entrance, I scanned around for some sort of weapon. There was no way I could just swim away and leave her while I found someone stronger than me. Spotting a long piece of driftwood near a few spare nets from work, I reached out towards it, being careful to not let it catch on my finger webbing. Wrapping my hand around the thin end, I hefted it and took a stealing breath through my gills. "Hey, white boy, who are you and why are you in my home?" I asked as I came around the corner, holding my makeshift club out in front of me. Squaring my shoulders, I stared at his back, making note of a bruise across his right ribs on the inside, away from his gills. He turned and held a hand over his chest. "Boy?" "Yes, boy. What are you doing?" I said, less of a question, more of a demand. "I'm here for my future mate, Click." "Who are you?" "I'm here for my future mate, Click. Who are you?" He replied, his fins shaking slightly. "I am Click." "That?" I nodded over at my grinning brood sister. "Iki, my sister." "What do you mean, future wife?" "They said you were mine." His eyes narrowed and he began to flex his hands. I noticed the webbing between his first knuckles had been cut. That's odd, I thought. On his fingers he wore rings. Usually those are on necklaces, so I wondered why he put them on his hands. Wasn't he worried about not being able to swim as well without his webbing? "Who said what?" Iki piped up. "Earlier, at the meeting thing, whatever. The old people said I was to be yours, since I wanted to do the same job. So if I'm yours, then you're mine. We're mates." I lowered my club and rubbed my hand across my face. "Is that what you did in your old pod?" "That's not how it works here. I'm your boss. I'm supposed to train you in herding the Piraruku."
Close.
I sighed and let my shoulders sag. This poor boy. Suddenly he rushed at me, grabbing at my arms. "You're lying," he yelled, pushing me into the wall of the cave. My head hit hard, and I yelped. "You, Click, are my mate. Those old people said so. You're just lying because you don't want me. You think I'm weird and foreign and you hate me. I'll make you love me, just like we do in the North. No matter what, she is not you. I'll have 2 mates if I must." "I don't even know your name," I yelled out, trying to raise my club, but my arms were pinned. "You didn't even hear my name? How dare you not care for me?" he screamed, shaking me against the wall. My eyes start to blur as my head hits the wall over and over. I think I see blood begin to fill the water. "My name is Iki. My name is Ike. Say it. Say my name." My head was pounding, but I managed to slur out, "Ike, I'm sorry. Please, I'm sorry." I could feel myself slipping away as he unhanded me, and I sank to the floor, breathing heavily. Was the sun setting? Why was it getting so dark so quickly? "Help! Help, please!" I jerked awake. Blood was pooled in the water around my hands, under my head. I sat up groggily as the yelling continued. Blinking, I realized that it was Iki yelling. I jerked up faster and realized Ike was on top of Iki on the bed and she was struggling. I grabbed my club, swam across to them as fast as I could. I wound up and hit him upside the head hard. He fell off of her and I realized her net skirt was missing. I felt violently nauseous. Grabbing Ike by the scruff of his neck, I flung him off the bed and onto the floor. I held my club over his head and in the bravest, least shaky voice I could muster, I whispered, You hurt my sister. You hurt me. You entitled prick. I hope you know you're never leaving this room." He looked up at me, twin wounds on our heads, leaking twin blood streams. He laid there on the floor, his stomach pouch still open, his hands behind his back. "Am I supposed to be scared now?" he asked dumbly and dazed. "Yes. Yes, you are," I replied as I promptly smashed in his noggin.
Why are you
Bro,
Oh, but my writing sucks.
Okay, now Will has to say 3 nice things.
Well, he didn't say it today. I'm just mocking him with what he said in the past. And I did make him say 3 good things about himself for that.
Okay.
Okay, on this last one, there we go. Silent Strangeways. Interesting pen name. It will not be forgotten once people realize what it is. So there we go. All right, so here we go. It looks like we have a title for this as well. Face Off. Okay. My alert sounded, jolting me out of my thoughts. It was my turn to walk down the long, dark hall to the arena. Oh, got my attention. I had been waiting for this moment, mentally preparing myself for what lay ahead. With a deep breath, I quietly rose from my sanitation shower station, the warm water dripping off my body. I wrapped myself in the rough black robe provided, its fabric coarse against my skin. The wet footsteps of the woman who left before me disappeared, as if they were never there, just like she did. It was a haunting reminder of the fate that awaited me. Stepping up in front of the man at the gate, I could feel the weight of his scrutinizing gaze. His cold, piercing eyes seemed to strip away any remaining sense of privacy or dignity. "Number?" he asked, his voice devoid of any emotion. I stood there, invisible to him, as he didn't bother to acknowledge my existence. 6E750, I replied, my voice trembling. Adrenaline coursing through my veins made it difficult to speak with confidence. The reality of what I was about to do was sinking in, and it was overwhelming. The moment my number was entered into the system, the gate smoothly slid open, beckoning me forward. I hesitated, my heart pounding in my chest. After this, I would no longer exist. It's amazing how quickly 25 years can pass, seeming so insignificant now. The man glanced up, his eyes filled with impatience. "Is there a problem?" he snapped, breaking the silence that had enveloped us. I shook my head, taking a step forward. There was no turning back now. With each step I took, I felt a mixture of fear and determination surging through me. The arena awaited, a place where survival was uncertain but necessary. As I walked into the unknown, I braced myself for the challenges that lay ahead, knowing that my fate would be decided within those walls. "No," I sighed, straightening my shoulders before stepping into the hall. Pausing once more, I waited. Swiftly, the man turned towards me and gently nudged me, guiding me into the hall. Each step was a struggle, but I persisted. Eventually, the man embraced me, lifting me through the door. It was exactly as I had anticipated. In one fluid motion, I swung up, adrenaline rushing through me, and wrapped my legs tightly around his neck. As he stumbled forward, his body collided with the wall in the narrow hallway. The sound of his head hitting the tile reverberated through the room, and a smile crept across my face. Time was limited before the head guard arrived to investigate. With cold precision, I detached his face and carefully affixed it onto my own. When our bioskins touched, it was as if they were destined to be one, flawlessly fitting together. In the dimly lit hall, any seams would be difficult to discern. Before removing his clothes from his lifeless body, I licked the blood off my fingers. It had been years since I last savored that delightful flavor on my tongue. I exchanged my robe for his, meticulously staging the scene. I handcuffed his wrists and created defensive wounds on my hands. "Help! Help! The prisoner attacked me!" I cried repeatedly until the guard from the other end rushed to my aid. "What the hell happened?" I looked up, blood-soaked hair obscuring my vision, and extended a trembling hand. "He escaped." This is our anonymous one from last week. Okay, putting two to two together, building the story. This is what some of these prompts do. They build the whole story. Okay. Whew. The head guard appeared bewildered. "What do you mean he escaped? He's right there, lying on the floor." His confusion swiftly transformed into fear as his eyes met mine and a malicious grin spread across my new face. In that moment, I reveled in the power I now possessed. The guard reached down to his boot, pulling out a taser, and hit the button twice. The
The sizzle of the arc echoed in the hallway. The guard's hand instinctively went to his boot. With lightning speed, he pulled out a sleek taser and hit the button twice. Oops.
No, I thought I exited out.
I laughed maniacally and scoffed. Am I supposed to be scared now? Damn. I normally don't get real deep into the weeds in sci-fi or horror. We know this.
Right.
But bioskins and melding and
Yeah, I'm like, is that where we're headed? Because yeah.
Oh.
I know, it was amazing.
Oh.
So
Oh.
that is definitely Kirk Wright, and I'm here for it.
No, look, like there's this like fire deep. Now, of course, it could be perimenopause, but I've got this fire in here. But then I got goose flesh chills on the outside. Like I don't know what the hell is happening. And my ears feel a little warm too. See, again, could be a hot flash. I don't know. Perimenopause, getting older sucks.
I love Dahlia's little thing down here. It's like the melting face.
Right? I swear, you all did a fantastic job. Like, I literally blown away.
Yes.
Blown away.
And that's the whole thing about the Hold My Pen Promptcast. Everybody can hear the exact same prompt and take it in 100 different directions, and we are here for it. It doesn't matter if you write 5 minutes, 10 minutes, the whole week, or at a stoplight on a napkin. I mean, that's how J.K. Rowling started.
Yeah. So, flashback. I mean, it is 10:16 Saturday. We got through those a little bit quicker than we normally do, right? And our show does go to 11 o'clock Eastern. So, let's do a little blast from the past so you can see what winds
The
up.
beginning of the year. Those one of the very first ones.
So here's a blast from the past from our second week of doing the weekly writing prompts way back in January. On New Year's Eve, an alien breaks into a prison. And please understand, I do not do the voices as well as R.L. Parker did his own voices. Just be cool. It gripped the controls much tighter than it should have, struggling to bring the ship down in one piece. Panic rippled through its 3 hearts in rapid succession, sending waves of anxiety it hadn't felt since it was toddling. So much for crash-proof, it grunted as a myriad alarms shouted their ear-piercing cry. Brown fields of small foliage dotted with tall brown dry stalks rushed toward the ship's primary viewport. An overwhelming sense of doom took hold, causing it to grip the controls even tighter. All 3 fingers of each hand immediately felt numb from the effort. It braced itself for the impending impact and kicked the emergency survival receiver with one of its feet. Pink, translucent spheres inflated around the pilot from all angles, far too quickly for them to retract their arms. The instant pressure pushed their appendages in at awkward angles, snapping their middle digit on each hand out of socket and forcing them rigid. The pilot yelped in pain as the ship collided with the semi-soft terrain, careened off several of the large brown stalks, and settled into a wobble. The spheres deflated and retracted into their ejection orifices with a hiss of rushing air. Pain radiating through their hands, its middle digit stuck extended in the act of self-reparation. It haphazardly climbed free of the chair. A retro, file an incident report with Ginzilliphon star yards, it stated, holding a hand to its throbbing head. Insufficient quantum signal, Commander Kring, replied the computer.
Kring sighed angrily. Ship status? Self-repair equalizing. Neutron leak stabilized. Tritium 3 required. Location? Last known coordinates? Urkatalon 3. Why did we exit subspace here of all places? Grumbled Kring. Neutron leak caused by unexpected impact. Nearest habitable world selected. Let me guess. Urkatalon 3? Confirmed. Planetary gravitational force 1/3 of Gregan 4. Life presence? Bountiful. Hydrant presence? Bountiful. Kring sighed and walked to the supply chamber. The door slid aft, but stopped halfway, and twitched as it attempted to complete the opening but failed. Eretro? Sighed Kring. Aft storage access port has encountered an impediment. Path can be cleared. Time to resolution? 6 Urkatalon light cycles. Kring growled its disapproval and pushed through the gap. The room's supplies were scattered about, lying in disheveled piles. The magnetic mounts had apparently failed during the crash. With a sigh of frustration, it scoured the room, shifting piles in search of anything that might help with a planet-side excursion. After a few minutes, it retrieved a body covering, a communication device, and a small phased matter pulse ejector. As it equipped its findings, a question came to mind. Eretro? Does Urkatalon 3 possess any known techno-signatures? Presence of technological advancements recognized. Artificial satellites scanned during entry. Heavy use of radio and microwave radiation present in atmosphere. Fushtis! Cursed Kring. Let me guess. Biotech stage 2? Incorrect. Estimated biotech stage 0.463. Just my luck, sighed Kring, fastening the last coupler on their kit into place, a task made far more difficult by their inability to use their middle digits. Incorrect. Current scenario is not equatable to any luck-based positive outcomes on file. I understand that, Eretro. Decipher atmospheric communication signals and give me something to go on. Anything you can find about the occupants of this world, for example. Kring pushed through the opening again and made its way to the landing port while waiting. Primary intelligent life form is estimated biotech stage 0.139. I thought you said 0.463, sighed Kring. Technology more advanced than host life form's usage. Possible reasons include stolen technology, loss of social advancement after biotech achievement, or rarity of advanced knowledge disbursement. Great, frowned Kring. Planet referred to as Terra, or Earth, by local biologics. Primary intelligence refers to self as human, a carbon-based bipedal life form, averaging 23 nervex in height when fully grown. Tendencies? Hostile. 23 nervex? Gasped Kring. So much for being tall. Comparatively, Gregans, such as Commander Kring, average 9 nervex, while present upon Urkatalon 3, Earth, no Gregan is tall. Thanks for that, sighed Kring. I'm leaving now. Connect to comm device 43 Alpha. Connected, responded Eretro through Kring's implant, linked to its mounted communication device. Kring climbed out of the ship and stepped onto the soft, spongy, dry foliage. You have encountered grass, nearby stalks locally known as trees. I don't need you to explain everything I touch or see. Point me toward the nearest structure so I can begin my search for tritium. I want off this world before it taints me. Affirmative, Commander Kring. Nearest structure estimated 547 Klevix toward magnetic apex. And that lies in which direction? Asked Kring, spinning slowly. When it faced the proper way, Eretro chimed, Direction identified. Proceed. Kring slowly stepped through the tree it was left facing, trying its best to maintain contact with the grass it was stepping on. The difference in gravitational forces was more dramatic than it had ever experienced on a planetary excursion, and each step threatened to send it flying into the air. When it reached the top of the hill, a large gray building stood in the distance, sprawling across the terrain. It was the largest single building Kring had ever witnessed with its own eyes. A strange perforated wall stood around the fields and smooth slabs that decorated the building's immediate area. and tall towers stood at each corner of the barrier. What is that? It's the biggest building I've ever seen. Why would any species require such a thing? Planetary biotech resources include informational data feed. Searching. The facility appears to be used for the purpose of incarcerating criminals. They have that many criminals? Gasped Kring. There are hundreds of such facilities on this continent alone. What the fooshtus have I gotten myself into? Grumbled Kring as it began walking. Yeah. And from there, it got even funnier.
Oh yeah, it got funnier, it got weirder.
It got super weird. So hopefully someday, this will be in some kind of pamphlet or something. No, it does say prison guard perspective starts here, if that helps. Hopefully someday it's like edited, although not a lot of editing needs done. I mean, I've read RL's actual, and maybe put out as one of his short stories. Pamphlets at signings or something. Because it is freaking hilarious.
Oh, yes, it is. So, hold on one second. Just to let everybody know, if you didn't do a submission for the week, or if you're not somebody that we directly know, or weren't sent by somebody that we directly know, we don't typically let you up in the box.
Yeah.
We just don't. That's for safety concerns and everything like that. So we just, we have strict rules.
On top of that, we've been around Book Talk long enough to know that other people that do this sort of reading out of submissions and whatnot have unfortunately been duped into sharing published work thinking it was written by somebody else. So, we want to make sure that nobody gets their feelings hurt, nobody is inadvertently pirated. And thus far, we know everybody who has submitted, so it's been pretty easy, but we want to grow this. We want to grow it and encourage everybody to continue writing, to start writing. And, there's that program that was started a long time ago for the month of November. We're not going to say the name just because of the controversy that surrounds.
Yes. And that leads me into my big announcement for the night.
Right. That's what I was leading up to.
I got you. Okay. Our big announcement for the night. Everybody knows what usually happens this time of year. And everybody's usually gearing up. And with all the controversy over that particular thing, I can see where it benefited, and I can see that things went out of hand and people got taken advantage of. And we don't like that at all. So we came up with our own for the Hold My Pen Promptcast. And we're calling it Harvesting the Words. So, for the month of November, you can participate. You don't have to participate. You can do your own thing. It's just what we do around here. But for the month of November, starting tonight with tonight's prompt, we are going to go through. Here in a minute, we're going to roll for the prompt. We're going to ask the people in the audience to vote 1, 2, or 3. And that's going to start your story. Okay. And then next week's prompt will be your add-on for that story. And add-on for that story. And add-on for that story. And let's see how many stories we actually get by the time we're done.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is about the premise for November is literally seeing if you can write an entire book in the month of November. Okay. even if you just get a fleshed out concept for the month of November, we're going to be proud of you. Okay. But this is what...
This all started when, I had my work in progress, and then the second prompt that we ever did literally helped me expand my world. Right now I think I'm up to 5 different prompts.
5 or 6, yeah.
From the weekly writing prompts that we've done on here. And it's built my story. I've done other prompts and added those in as well. But that's kind of the premise that we're talking about here, right? 2 weeks ago, we did the one dialogue tag. Hey, Finley. And it was great. And a bunch of people were like, oh, I really enjoyed it. And then this week's, just fed right into it, worked its way into it. And we had a couple of them where they were continuation. So that's what we're trying to ask you guys to do, is when we roll the prompts and you're voting, be aware that this is the start of a new story that you'll be working on a little bit at a time all November. Okay?
Right.
And then when you're going and voting for next week's prompt, and as it pops up, think of what could continue on where you're at with the story. Right? And until by the time we start December, you may have 10,000 words ready for a new work in progress.
Right.
So, that being said, Julie.
I got the dice.
You got the dice.
All right. I need the 100. I need the big one. And then I need, the 25 or the 20?
Do you have a 25?
There's no such thing as a D25.
I didn't think so.
It's a D20.
I think it's a 26, but...
Huh? Well,
I got a bunch of really weird ones. I got a 20 here.
You guys have a bunch of weird ones.
I got the very deluxe set.
Very deluxe set. So, basically, we are at 172 of the regular prompts. 30 of the starting first lines, and 34 of the use this dialogue.
Right. Okay. So here comes the first roll.
First roll. That's the easiest one. 100.
31.
31. All right. So for the first one, we've got a mysterious illness sweeps through a small town. And 131, which is write about a haunted house that only appears during the month of October.
We'll keep both of those up there. Actually, we'll do it like the 4. But
Okay.
so instead of it, it's gonna be 1, 2, 3, or 4.
This is for starting first line.
Starting first line. 12. Oh God! What?
People trust me with their marriages. They really shouldn't. Or no, not their their marriages. People trust me with their marriages. They shouldn't.
Well, 26. Is this the one you were hoping we were going to get?
This is the one where I immediately was like, oh dear God, what's Dahlia going to do with that? Here's the dialogue to use in a story if this one is chosen. Okay? Who walks a pet python at night? So, our choices Our choices tonight are a mysterious illness sweeps through a small town. That is option 1. Option number 2. Write about a haunted house that only appears during the month of October. Or start your story with this line. This is number 3. People trust me with their marriages. They shouldn't. And last but not least, in option number 4, include this dialogue in your story. Who walks a pet python at night?
Why do I have a feeling this can end up being a dude named Python, not necessarily a python?
Wait a minute. DS?
Mm-hmm.
This is my pet. Python. Wait, I just went real dark. No.
Pass my vote to someone else.
So we have a whole bunch of people abstaining.
Yeah. So do we need to roll for one more, or? Okay. I will roll one more time.
Which category?
Let's do dialogue.
We seem to have a good luck with dialogue. Okay.
Hey, look at the dialogue. So 30.
Yep.
Let's hope. 18.
But why would anyone want to steal secondhand puzzles?
God, what is this? We get a bunch of good ones, and then we the dice are messing with us. The dice are messing with us.
Okay, hold on. I hit the generate button a couple of times. Okay.
Okay.
And I think the
Is
random
the guy's name puzzle?
secondhand puzzles. Okay, so it popped up, and I think this might be something that everyone could agree on. Piece of dialogue. Okay. If we both stick to the story, they can't prove anything.
I like that one.
If we both stick to the story, they can't prove anything. And if you want to talk about a pet python in your story, throw it in there. Okay? But now I'm thinking about a pet store that's been robbed. And somebody's out walking a pet python, and a cop says that.
He's got the python wrapped around him, and he's like, "Did you steal that python?" And be like, "No, I'm walking my pet python."
I could do that, Dahlia. All right, so I think that's what we're going to do, because on top of that, if you think about it, right, the last 2 prompts, guy walking pet python with his girlfriend who is looking for a stolen puzzle. You know? And if we both...
That's the haunted house that appears once a year.
All right, RL, start writing the premise. You got till next Saturday at 3.
Yeah, you got to next Saturday.
I'll plague with it. I've actually got a story kind of brewing that might put all 5 together, just like Dahlia. Yeah, looks like we now have... If we both stick to the story, they can't prove anything. That's the dialogue to use. Add it to the ones that you've already got from either the previous 2 or start a whole new story. And then next week, we'll add some more to push along where you're heading with your writing.
Yep, for the Harvest Words.
Harvest the word.
November right off. So we thank you guys so much. We are going to end out just a little bit early tonight. And then anybody, please go to the links in all the spots and both mine and Izzy's profile Sign up for the newsletter. Don't worry, we don't bombard you with emails. And it's in the Hold My Pen Promptcast Beacons page. And you'll get the writing prompt just in case you cannot be here on a week or something like that. You can go ahead and get that. We look forward to seeing you guys next week and seeing what you guys are coming up with. Please stay safe out there. And remember, be brave, be bold, but always stay humble. Night, guys.